You ever walk into your own kitchen, see a smug little manila folder sitting there like it pays the mortgage, and instantly know your life just took a hard left? That was me, Tuesday, 6:18 p.m., keys still in my hand, chicken tacos in a paper bag cooling by the sink. My name's Cole Bennett, I'm 31, and up until that exact second, I thought I was a pretty decent fiancé. Ava was already at the table, elbows planted, chin lifted, the way people look right before they drop "we need to talk." She's 27, sharp as a tack, project manager in sneakers and a messy bun, born and raised in San Antonio, and, until recently, the person I trusted most. Between us sat the folder. She tapped it like it was Exhibit A at a trial. "We need to talk," she said. "About what?" She slid the folder my way. "I hired someone." "Like, a DJ?" "Please tell me it's the DJ." "A private investigator." I laughed out loud because that's what my brain does when it gets hit by a truck. "Come again?" 2 weeks of surveillance, she said, all business. It cost $2,800. I used the wedding account. "Worth it." "Worth it," I repeated, as if I'd heard the price of a really nice blender. I cracked the folder. Inside, time-stamped photos of me in Harper. If you don't know Harper, she's Ava's best friend from college, loud laugh, louder earrings, the kind of person who can plan a party on the back of her seat. There we were in 3 different places around Austin, a hill country winery outside Fredericksburg, a spa lobby near South Congress, the patio of a steakhouse in Dripping Springs. Next to the pictures were notes typed in a font only accountants and spies use. My credit card charges were highlighted. A calendar grid circled 3 Saturdays. Ava folded her arms. "Explain." "To whom?" I said, because apparently I was trying out for comedian who wants to get dumped. "To me." I looked at the photos again, then back at her. I could have told her everything right then. I could have said, "I'm building your surprise bachelorette weekend. Harper's helping. There's a Sprinter van. There's a river house. There's a chef who does queso 3 ways that'll make you see God." Instead, my brain stuck on one loop: she hired a PI. With our wedding money. Without asking me. For 2 weeks. "What made you do this?" I asked. "You've been secretive," she shot back. "You turn your phone upside down. You leave the room to take calls. You've met Harper 6 times without me." "Ava, we've been together 4 years," I said. "When have I ever given you a reason to think I'd cheat?" She flinched, a tiny thing, like a heartbeat you can see. "It's not just you," she said. "It's history." "Your history isn't my character," I said, maybe sharper than I meant to. "You could have asked." "I needed the truth," she said. "Not a story." "Ouch," I said, because if you're going to accuse me of cheating, might as well call me a liar too. "So you spent $2,800 of both our money to confirm I go to steakhouses?" "Don't mock me." "I'm not," I said. "I'm trying to figure out if the person I'm marrying trusts me less than a stranger with a telephoto lens." She told me she had more. Phone records, courtesy of a family plan her dad still paid for. Locations. Times I'd been off the grid. I wanted to say, "Yeah, I turned off location sharing the second you told me you don't believe me," but at the time I hadn't turned it off yet. I was still playing by rules I thought we shared. "Explain," she said again, this time softer, like maybe if she gave me room I'd step into it. And look, I get why she was scared. People cheat. Good people. Boring people. People who swore they wouldn't. But there's a canyon of difference between fear and hiring surveillance. There's a canyon and a toll road and a warning sign with flashing lights. "No," I said. Her mouth fell open. "No? I'm not explaining. Not tonight. You didn't ask, you investigated. That's not fair. Neither is being followed." I slept on the couch, which, by the way, is basically a long ottoman. If you've ever tried to be angry on an ottoman, it's impossible. Your knees don't know where to go. I stared at the ceiling and thought about the deposits I'd paid, $3,900 out of my own pocket so far, the river house, refundable until Friday, the wine tour, not refundable, thanks, Mason at Hill Country Tours, the chef, the spa day for 8 of her friends who were already texting Harper flight prices. I thought about the way Harper's face would look when I told her the party she'd color-coded 6 different ways was now a grenade. Wednesday morning, first thing, I called the PI firm from the invoice in the folder, some outfit with a name like Sentinel Solutions, which is exactly the sort of name you pick when you wear khakis and think about binoculars for a living. "Hi," I said, "I'm the guy you've been tailing. I want my file. Sir, we don't. I'm the subject, I said. Do I have a legal right to my data? Silence. Hold music. A supervisor. In Texas, the man said, we can provide the subject with materials upon request for a processing fee. How much? $150. I'll bring cash. Have it ready at noon. Lunch break, I pulled into a sleepy strip mall off Ben White and walked into an office that smelled like printer ink and frozen burritos. They handed me a thumb drive and a stapled packet. Photos, logs, the works. Also, the intake form where the client, Ava, had to explain why she wanted her fiancé followed. I read the first line standing at my truck, sun bouncing off the windshield. Client suspects subject of ongoing affair with client's best friend, Harper. Client suspects subject is misusing joint wedding funds to support relationship and planning to leave prior to wedding date. I had to set the papers down. The air felt heavier. I didn't drive back to the office. I drove to Alamo Heights and parked in front of a beige house with crepe myrtles and a flag Ava's dad kept perfectly lit at night. Her parents are old-school San Antonio, polite knives. They're generous, too. They'd offered $40,000 toward the wedding. We thanked them with a charcuterie board and a spreadsheet. Her mom answered in a Baylor sweatshirt. Cole? Is Mr. Morales home? I asked, suddenly feeling like I should take my hat off. 2 minutes later I was at their kitchen island, handed a coffee I didn't deserve, explaining why their future son-in-law came bearing a thumb drive. I set the packet down. Her dad wears reading glasses low, like a judge who's seen it all. He didn't look at me while he read, just the pages, one by one. Her mom read over his shoulder. Somewhere around page 3 she stopped breathing for a second. She paid for this with the wedding account, her dad finally asked. Yes, sir. How much? $2,800. He closed the packet carefully, as if the paper could bruise. And what were you doing in these photos, Cole? I could have lied. I could have hidden the party to keep the last sliver of surprise intact. But the surprise was Ash already. Planning her bachelorette weekend, I said. Hill Country Wine Tour. Spa Day. A river house in Wimberley. Harper's been coordinating flights. Her mom pressed fingers to her lips. Oh, Ava, she whispered to the tile. Her dad nodded once, like a verdict. Leave this with us. I will, I said. One more thing. I'm rethinking the wedding. I'm not announcing anything yet. But before you make any more payments, I wanted you to see what your money went to. On the drive back, Ava texted, where are you? Then, 5 dots. Then, we aren't finished. I didn't answer. Not because I wanted to be petty, but because I needed 30 minutes to figure out what a person does when trust gets kneecapped by a stranger with a camera. I stopped by Harper's apartment instead. She opened the door in socks and chaos, boxes of party favors, a stack of pink sashes, a tiny white cowboy hat I'm 90% sure was for a dog. Please tell me you're here to taste test queso, she said. Wish I were. I told her everything, the PI, the folder, the drive, the intake form, the Morales kitchen tribunal. She sat on the arm of her couch and went quiet in a way I'd never seen. She thinks you and I. Yeah, I said. Like, leave before the wedding think? Yep. Harper stared at the tiny cowboy hat like it could solve math. I'll talk to her, she said finally. But Cole, even if she's spiraling, this is. I know. What are you going to do? I don't know, I said. But I'm not explaining myself tonight. Not for a while. When I got home, Ava was pacing, phone in hand, the folder back on the table. Did you turn off your location? She asked, like a cop who already knew the answer. No, I said. But after this conversation, I might. Where were you? With your parents, I said, and watched the color drain from her cheeks. You told them? They're funding the wedding account, I said. They deserve to know where their money went. She stared, then jabbed at her phone, calling her mom. Straight to voicemail. Then her dad. Straight to voicemail. She redialed, again and again, until finally her mom picked up. I heard the tinny edge of a voice I couldn't make out, then Ava's, it's not what it looks like. I was scared. You don't understand, she hung up and glared at me like I'd lit the match. This is your fault, she said. I didn't hire a PI, I said. I planned you a party. She cried. I didn't move. I wanted to. I wanted to say, I know why you're scared. I know what your college ex did to you. I know the way people can break things that were supposed to be permanent. But there's a difference between empathy and erasing boundaries. And that line? I could feel it under my feet like a crack in a sidewalk you don't step on because if you do, the rest of your life shifts. She slept in the bedroom. I went back to the ottoman. At 1:43 a.m., I opened my laptop and pulled up the contracts. The venue in Bernie, the caterer, the photographer Harper swore could make a parking lot look like Tuscany. Non-refundable. Non-transferable. A little graveyard of deposits. By morning, my phone lit up with a group text Ava started. My parents, her sister, my brother, the whole cast list. Her version of events starred me as the evasive villain and her as the responsible woman seeking clarity. I typed nothing. Not then. There's a difference between winning a chat thread and saving a life. At lunch, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. "This is Miguel Morales," her dad said, voice like folded steel. "Can we meet? Just us?" "Sure," I said. "Name the place." And that's where I'll leave you, for now, sitting at a corner table of a quiet bar off Broadway, waiting for a man who might decide whether I still show up to a wedding I'm not sure I believe in anymore. You ever sit across from your almost father-in-law, knowing he's holding the invisible detonator to your whole damn life? That was me, Friday night, corner booth at a whiskey bar in downtown San Antonio, the kind of place that smells like cedar and regret. Miguel Morales walked in 10 minutes late, crisp shirt, calm face, like the kind of man who never needs to raise his voice to get his point across. He ordered a whiskey neat before he even sat down. I stuck with beer because I still had to drive home and maybe figure out where I lived emotionally. "Cole," he said, taking a sip. "I've been thinking. That makes one of us," I said before my brain could stop me. He smirked, just barely. "You've been through the ringer. I'm not the one who hired a PI. "No," he said, "but you're the one she doesn't trust. And that's its own kind of hell." We sat in silence for a while, the low hum of music behind us. Then he leaned forward and said, "I'm not here to scold you. I'm here to explain something." He told me about Ava's first boyfriend. How she'd walked into her dorm sophomore year and found him in bed with her roommate. How she'd never cried in front of anyone after that, not even her parents. "She's carried that scar like a compass ever since," Miguel said. "Every time someone she loves acts secretive, her brain doesn't say, 'He's planning a surprise.' It says, 'It's happening again.'" I rubbed my forehead. "That sucks. But trauma doesn't excuse espionage." He nodded. "Agreed. It doesn't. But it explains it. And I need you to know that before you decide what comes next." He paused, then added, "Her mother and I told her she needs therapy. Serious therapy. We'll pay for it." I looked up. "And she said?" "She wants to fix things with you first." I exhaled through my nose. "That's not how fixing works." Miguel nodded again, finishing his drink. "I know. But I'm her father. My instinct is to protect her, even from herself. And my instinct tonight tells me you're not the villain here." We shook hands when we left. He said, "Whatever you decide, do it with peace." I nodded, but peace felt like something on back order. When I got home, there she was, Ava, sitting on the steps outside my apartment, wrapped in a hoodie, eyes swollen like she'd been crying for days. Her sister, Emma, was standing behind her with that ready-to-fight stance siblings get when they think they're saving the day. "We need to talk," Emma said. "I'm off the clock for family interventions," I said. "You owe her a chance to explain." I gave her a chance. She hired a spy instead. Ava looked up at me. "Please, Cole. Can we just talk inside?" I sighed, opened the door, and stepped aside. They both came in like storm clouds. Emma started the second she sat down. "You're being cruel. She made a mistake. One mistake. You don't blow up a relationship over that." "One mistake?" I said. "She spent nearly $3,000 from our wedding fund to follow me because she thought I was stealing money to run away with her best friend." "You were being secretive," Emma snapped. "Because I was planning a surprise for her." I shot back. "There's a difference between privacy and deception. You all blurred that line the moment you put me under surveillance." Ava sniffled. "I didn't know what else to do." "How about asking me?" "You were hiding something." "Yeah, your spa weekend, your wine tour, your little river house in Wimberley that's now going to stay empty because you torched everything with suspicion." Emma looked between us, realizing maybe she'd misjudged the vibe. She was scared, Cole. "So was I said. You ever had someone you love turn you into a suspect?" You can't come back from that. You start wondering if every smile is just a stakeout. Ava's mom walked in halfway through. Turns out she'd been waiting outside in the car, probably hoping to play referee. Enough, she said softly. Emma, go home. Emma opened her mouth but thought better of it. She left. Her mom sat down, eyes heavy. Ava, I love you, but he's right. You crossed a line. Mom. No, her mom said. Your father and I raised you better than to spy on the people you love. The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut glass. Ava whispered, what can I do to fix this? I shook my head. You can't. Please, she said, voice cracking. I'll go to therapy, I'll delete the PI's number, I'll do anything. I need time, I said. And space. For how long? I don't know. She wiped her face. So you're ending it? I'm saying I don't want to get married to someone who doesn't trust me. Not right now. She sobbed. Her mom reached for her, but she pulled away and ran out the door. I just stood there, staring at the coffee table where that cursed manila folder had once been. Her mom sighed. You did what you had to. I know, I said. Doesn't make it feel any better. It rarely does, she said, and left. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Missed calls. Texts. Group chats. Her sister again. Her dad checking in. My own mom asking if it was true Ava had gone private eye crazy. News travels fast when people are bored. At lunch, my brother, Drew, showed up at my door with a six-pack in his usual lack of subtlety. You calling it off? He asked before I even said hi. Thinking about it. He cracked open a beer and sat on my counter. Then good. Because if she doesn't trust you now, she never will. Thanks, therapist. I'm just saying, he said. Marriage is supposed to be a partnership, not a damn parole check-in. That night, my phone rang again, Ava's number. I almost didn't answer, but then I thought maybe I owed her closure, or maybe I just wanted to stop hearing that ringtone in my head. Cole, she said, can I come over? Just talk? Yeah, I said after a long pause. 7 o'clock. I hung up and looked around my apartment. Same couch, same takeout boxes, same air that used to smell like her shampoo. It's weird how love doesn't die all at once. It leaks, like a slow tire. You keep driving, pretending it's fine, until you realize you're running on rims. At 7:01, there was a knock. She stood there, hands shaking, mascara gone. I can't lose you, she whispered. Then why did you follow me? I said quietly. Why did you pay someone to confirm I was faithful? Because I didn't want to be stupid again, she said. You're not stupid, I said. You're just scared. But I can't be your punishment for what someone else did. She stepped closer. Please. I love you. I took a breath. Then let me go. And that was the first time I meant it. She cried until her knees hit the floor, hands in her face, saying she'd do anything, therapy, apologies, starting over. But you can't unring a bell. You can't unhire a PI. When she left, I didn't stop her. I just sat there, watching the headlights disappear, feeling the quiet spread like spilled ink across my walls. That night, I called the venue. Hi, this is Cole Bennett. I need to discuss booking number 1142. The woman on the phone sighed softly, like she'd heard it all before. You're canceling, aren't you? Yeah, I said. I am. You ever notice how fast a private disaster turns into public entertainment? One day it's just you, a broken heart, and a bad decision, and the next, your whole life's a group chat headline. That was week 2 after I canceled the wedding. Monday morning, my phone lit up like Times Square. A notification from Ava, family update, please read. She'd started a group text, me, her parents, her sister, my parents, my brother, 2 of her bridesmaids, even her Uncle Frank, who barely knows how to text but somehow still managed a thumbs-up emoji halfway through the chaos. She wrote. I want to explain my side. Yes, I hired a private investigator. I was scared. Cole had been acting distant and secretive for weeks, meeting my best friend in private, hiding his phone. I needed clarity. When I confronted him, he refused to explain and ran to my parents to turn them against me. Now he's threatening to cancel the wedding. My screen burned red. I didn't even get halfway through before my mom called. Cole, she said, please tell me this is exaggerated. I wish it was. So it's true? She hired a PI. Yeah. 2 weeks, 3 grand. While I was planning her surprise party. There was silence on the line, then my mom whispered, "That poor, stupid girl." Mom. No, I mean it. You were planning something for her and she turned it into a crime scene. That's almost impressive in how badly she misfired. I sighed. I don't even feel angry anymore. Just empty. Good, she said. That's how you know it's over. By Wednesday, Ava's dad called me again. His voice was tired, heavier than before. We're cutting the remaining payments, he said. You were right to tell us. I wish she'd trusted you. I wish that too, I said. And then Thursday happened. It was 6 p.m., raining, the kind of Texas rain that turns roads into rivers. I got home, threw my jacket on the couch, and there she was, Ava, again. But this time, she didn't come alone. Her sister Emma was back, armed with righteous anger, and their mom followed right behind, like a silent referee in a family boxing match. Ava's eyes were swollen, her voice hoarse. We need to talk. About what? I said, already knowing. Emma crossed her arms. About you humiliating my sister in front of the entire family. Humiliating? I said. She hired someone to follow me. I showed her parents the invoice for it. That's called accountability. You ran to mommy and daddy like a tattletale, Emma snapped. I laughed once. They paid for the wedding fund, Emma. I thought they should know how their money was spent. You'd call that transparency, right? Or does that word only work one way? Her mom raised her hands. Enough. Please, just talk like adults. Ava's voice trembled. I made a mistake, Cole. A huge one. I know that now. I was scared, and I didn't trust the one person I should have. Please, just don't throw away 4 years because of one bad decision. I looked at her, standing there soaked from the rain, and part of me, the soft, stupid part, wanted to hug her. But the other part, the one that had read the PI's report calling me a thief and a cheater, couldn't move. You didn't make a mistake, I said. You made a choice. A mistake is dropping your phone in the toilet. A choice is hiring someone to tail me for 2 weeks and then lying about it. Emma jumped in again. You're cold, you know that? Unforgiving. She was scared and you're punishing her. Punishing? I said. I spent $4,000 planning a surprise for her while she spent $3,000 proving she didn't know who I was. I'm not punishing her, I'm just done pretending this is normal. Ava's mom finally spoke. Cole, she said softly, what would it take for you to forgive her? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Honestly? I don't think there's anything. I can't marry someone who thinks I'm capable of stealing from her or running away with her best friend. That kind of suspicion doesn't go away, it just sleeps until the next time I'm late from work. Ava's face crumpled. Please. I'll go to therapy. I'll prove I can change. It's not about changing, I said quietly. It's about believing. And once belief dies, love follows. Her mom looked heartbroken. We should go, she said to Ava. Ava stayed frozen for a moment, then finally whispered, You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, but not as much as I'd regret marrying someone who doesn't trust me. When the door closed behind them, the silence was deafening. The air felt heavier, like the whole room had exhaled. I sank onto the couch and stared at the blank TV screen until my phone buzzed. Harper. Heard about the text thread. You okay? Define okay. She's telling people you humiliated her. Yeah, that tracks. Well, if it helps, most people think she lost her mind. Not really the comfort I was hoping for, but thanks. Look, she texted, I feel awful. If I hadn't helped you plan the party, she wouldn't have freaked out. Don't blame yourself. Better to find out now than 10 years from now when she checks my mileage receipts. You're too calm about this. I ran out of panic a while ago. 2 days later, I got a call from Ava's dad again. She's seeing a therapist, he said. We told her she has to. She still loves you, Cole. She's trying. I know, I said. But sometimes love isn't enough. That weekend, my brother dragged me out to a friend's party, some backyard thing with bad music and good beer. He said, You've been sitting in that apartment for too long. Time to breathe. And maybe he was right. That's where I met Jordan. She was a graphic designer, funny, sarcastic, didn't take herself too seriously. When she asked what happened with my engagement, I just laughed. Long story short? My fiancée hired a private investigator on me while I was planning her surprise party. Jordan blinked, then burst out laughing. That's insane. Yeah, I said, smiling for the first time in weeks. It really is. She shook her head. Well, at least you dodged a bullet. Feels more like a cannon, I said. We talked until midnight. And for the first time since the whole mess started, I didn't feel like the guy who... You know how some places carry the ghost of a person even when they're not there? For me, it was a corner table at a coffee shop on Broadway, 2 chairs, a wobbly leg, and a window that made every afternoon look kinder than it was. That's where I sat on a Tuesday at 3:12 p.m., waiting for the conversation I'd been putting off for weeks. Ava walked in wearing a plain black sweater and no makeup. She looked human. Not the curated, wedding Pinterest version of herself. Not the furious, defensive version either. Just a person who'd had a long few months and finally ran out of posture. She saw me, lifted a small hand, and came over with a cup so white it almost looked like an apology. Hi, she said. Hey. She sat. For a minute, we watched a dog tied to a bike rack stare down a squirrel with holy intensity. It was easier than eye contact. I'm in therapy, she said, finally. Real therapy. Like, homework and journals and sit in the silence therapy. You were right. Everything I did was about fear I brought with me, stuff from before you ever showed up. I nodded. I heard. Your dad called to tell me you were going. She swallowed. I hate that he called you. I didn't hate it. He sounds relieved. We sat with that. She thumbed the cardboard sleeve on her cup. I owe you 1,000 apologies, she said, voice steady. But I'll start with this. I accused you of being someone you never were. I made up a story and then paid someone to prove it. And when the story wouldn't hold, I doubled down. That's not love. She took a breath like it had weight. I'm sorry. It wasn't dramatic. No tears. No flourish. Just a clean sentence placed carefully on the table between us. Thank you, I said. I used to think trust was something you get from other people, she went on. Like a gift. But I didn't have any for myself. So I couldn't hold any for you. She gave a small smile that didn't reach her eyes. My therapist says I've been scanning for danger since I was 19 and walked into my dorm room at the wrong time. I know about that guy, I said. She nodded. I hate that he still gets to steer my car. The light through the window flickered as a cloud drifted by. Outside, the dog sat down and sighed like a retired detective. I'm not asking for anything, Ava said. Not a second chance. Not forgiveness that costs you your boundaries. I just didn't want silence to be the period at the end. You deserve more than a slammed door. I let the words be words for a moment. I appreciate that, I said. And I'm glad you're doing the work. She watched me for a second. You look lighter, she said. I feel lighter, I answered. Still sore in places. But lighter. Jordan, she asked, a gentle question, not a knife. Yeah, I said. We're taking it slow. We talk. A lot. She's careful with me, and I'm careful with her. Ava looked down at her cup the way you look at a lake you once swam in and now just visit. I'm happy for you, she said, and I believed her. You always wanted a simple life, didn't you? Not flashy. Just honest. Honest is pretty flashy once you've been without it, I said. We both laughed, soft and short. Then came the business, because even in heartbreak, there's paperwork. I signed the last vendor release, she said. Florist refunded the vases, but not the deposit. Photographer kept theirs. Venue won't budge. I already sent my half, I said. 7,000 and change. You got it? Yeah. And thanks for not fighting about that. I wasn't going to turn the worst week of our lives into a small claim circus. She smiled, this time it reached the eyes, just barely. You were always better than me at not lighting things on fire. I had practice, I said. I grew up with a brother who thought fireworks were a personality. We traded a few more sentences like that, plain and familiar. Then silence again. The good kind, for once. She set her cup down. Can I tell you the part that knocked the wind out of me? She asked. Sure. When I got the PI's intake form back from you, when I saw my words on that page, I realized I hadn't just doubted you. I'd indicted you. She paused. I wrote down a version of you that was easiest to fear. And then I believed my own writing. I didn't flinch, but the truth landed. I wrote a version of you, too, I said. The one who would know without asking that I was doing something good. The one who would always choose me. Neither of those characters were real. I looked out the window. Turns out love doesn't replace the work. It just gives you a reason to do it. We watched the street for a while. A guy in a cowboy hat walked by carrying 2 pink balloons and a baguette like a baton. San Antonio, man. Perfect nonsense. I know you said you're not asking for anything, I said, but I do want one thing, if it's on the table. She braced. Okay. Tell Harper you're sorry, I said. Say it clearly. Not for me. For her. She got dragged into a story she didn't audition for. Ava nodded at once. I already did, she said. Last week. I cried. She hugged me. Then she made me promise never to weaponize her again. And I promised. Good, I said. She deserved that. Ava pulled in a breath and let it out slow. Cole, I'm not going to ask to undo anything. I know you can't unknow what it felt like to be treated like a suspect. But, if you ever wonder if I learned anything, please know I did. I'm learning to catch the panic before it rents a U-Haul. I'm learning to ask questions before I write a script. And I'm learning that love without trust is just hostage-taking with flowers. Yeah, I said. I learned something too. What? That boundaries don't make me unkind, I said. They make me honest. And that walking away is sometimes the most generous version of staying true. To both people. Her eyes glistened then, not a flood, just a shine. I'm proud of you, she said, and laughed at herself. That's a weird thing to say to your ex. It's a nice thing, I said. I'll take nice. We stood at the same time. The chairs scraped the floor with a noise that felt like the end of a chapter. Outside, the dog's owner untied the leash, and the dog looked back once as if to say, "You coming?" Then trotted away like a clean slate. Ava held out her hand. I shook it. It was warm and not shaking. Take care of yourself, Cole, she said. You too. She walked south down Broadway. I walked north. No dramatic music. No second look. Just 2 people who had learned the hard way that love needs more than history. Life didn't pivot overnight into sunshine and banjos. It turned the way a boat turns, slow enough you only notice because the shoreline starts showing a different side. I went home to my apartment and noticed I could breathe without climbing a hill first. I cleaned the kitchen for no reason other than it felt good to live in a place that didn't smell like stale arguments. I returned a box of monogrammed napkins to a warehouse that refunded me $47 and a story. Jordan and I kept it slow like we promised. We made dinner out of whatever was in our fridges and compared terrible playlists from high school. I told her the whole PI saga on our 3rd date, start to finish, because secrets rot the floorboards. She listened without interrupting, then said, okay. Here's how I do trust: if something feels off, I'll ask once with curiosity, not accusation. If it still feels off, I'll ask again, but I won't hire a stranger with binoculars. Deal? Deal, I said, and felt a click somewhere under my ribs. Months passed. The itch to check shadows faded. I got good at boring, run on the river, call my brother, fix the squeak in the cabinet door. Boring, I discovered, is a luxury when your last season was a crime novel you didn't consent to. One Saturday, Harper texted a photo, her and Ava at a taco truck, grinning, messy with salsa. We're okay, she wrote. Thank you for asking me to ask for an apology. We both needed it. I stared at the picture longer than I had to. People can heal. It's slow and weird and looks like nothing, until one day it looks like 2 friends and a taco. A year after the non-wedding, I went to a real one. Not mine, a buddy from work out in Wimberley, where the river runs lazy and everything smells like cedar. During the vows, something in me tightened, old muscle memory, but then it loosened when the bride said, I will assume the best of you, and when I can't, I will ask. The crowd laughed, and I did too, because that's as romantic as it gets. At the reception, Jordan squeezed my hand under the table. You good? I'm good, I said, and meant it. Later, when the band was 2 songs into a Tom Petty cover, my phone buzzed. A number I hadn't saved pinged the lock screen, unknown, heard you're doing well. I'm happy for you. I didn't need to ask who. I typed back, I hope you are too. 3 dots appeared, then vanished. That was enough. Driving home that night, windows down, hill country air waking up the inside of my head, I thought about how the worst parts of our lives don't always end with a bang or a neat bow. Sometimes they end with a receipt, a handshake, a coffee, and the decision to be a person you can live with. I used to think the moral of my story was never date someone who hires a PI. And yeah, solid rule of thumb. But it's bigger than that. It's this: love is not a surveillance state. It's a practice. It's choosing curiosity over accusation, questions over conclusions, and boundaries over grand gestures. It's knowing that trust doesn't mean I'll never be scared, it means I won't let my fear turn you into a suspect. Maybe the cleanest truth is the simplest one: some decisions make themselves the minute you refuse to live as evidence. Back at my apartment, I put my keys in the bowl by the door and stood for a second in the quiet. No manila folder. No wobbly chair. Just space. Space I could fill with dinner plans, or a dumb movie, or sleep. I texted Jordan, home safe. Want pancakes tomorrow? She replied, always. I smiled. I turned off the lamp. The room went soft and dark and easy. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't wonder what anyone else was doing when I couldn't see them. I already knew.